So students, today we'll discuss government budget and the economy. This is a 7th chapter from macroeconomics. First of all, question arises, what do we mean by budget? So budget is compared with that of the wallet. What is the wallet? Because we manage our expenditure by the wallet only. Whenever we go to the market, we always keep remember how much money we have into the wallet, and accordingly we have to spend. In the case of individuals, in the case of families, every family prepares a budget, whatever the sources of revenue are available with the family, how much revenue is being generated by the family, and accordingly they plan out to spend that money or to spend that revenue. In the same manner, for the development of any country, okay, for the activities like आपका infrastructural development, economic development, welfare activities, all these need a huge expenditure to be done by the government. So like individuals, like the families, government also prepares the planning, do the planning and prepares the policies according to the revenue generated into the economy. So all these preparation, all these management is known as the budget. So we could say the budget is a document containing the detailed programs and policies of actions for the given fiscal year is known as the budget. So what could we say? Budget is an number one. This is an annual statement, okay, and this statement consists of receipts and expenditure. Receipts and expenditures during a fiscal year. Number third, during a fiscal year. What do we mean by annual statement? Annual statement means this. Annual statement means during a fiscal year. If we are speaking the term annual means yearly. Okay. So what do we mean by fiscal year? Fiscal year is estimated. Fiscal year means fiscal year is considered from 1st April to 31st March. It's known as the fiscal year. We have already discussed fiscal year with the banking also. Okay. So what are the receipts? Here next we could see receipts and expenditure. Receipts and expenditures. Okay. So what are the receipts? Receipts are revenue from different In short, I'm writing this GIFF. Please consider this. Revenue from different sources. Okay. All these we'll discuss in the chapter later on. Receipts means revenue from different sources. Okay. This is known as the receipts. And expenditure, all of us know, to spend money. Expenditure. In short, I'm writing this EXPEND. Expenditure, to spend on different, again DIFF I'm writing, on different activities. What kind of activities? These may be either infrastructural, okay, these may be the economic activities, or these may be even welfare activities. So receipts plus expenditures, okay, is equal to budget. Means how do we manage our expenditures from the revenue generated into the economy. So this is known as the budget. Budget is prepared in every country, or if we speak in terms of India, in India, budget is prepared at the 3 levels. It's prepared at 3 levels. What are all these 3 levels? What are the 3 levels of the government in India? These are central, state, and local governments. Local government. Okay. So at every level, every government at the different levels prepares one's own budget. Okay. In our syllabus, mainly we have to focus on the central government budget. Central government budget is known as the we have already discussed all this. The budget at the central level is known as the union budget. Is known as the union budget. This budget, how to plan out a budget? So this budget is estimated or is planned as per the objectives of the government. In the preparation of a budget, in the planning of the budget, what matters a lot? Objectives. Objectives of government always play important role. Important role in planning of budget. Next, in India, I do it right. We'll continue here. So we had done that central budget is known as the union budget. Secondly, in the planning of the budget, objectives of the government always play an important role. Now, when the budget is presented in India, because we have to discuss in reference of India especially, so we'll talk in reference of our country. In India, budget is presented in the parliament. In the parliament, it's presented in the parliament, and it is presented on the day number one, as the president may direct, as the president may direct, number one, or it is presented on the last working day of February each year, or on last working day of February each year. Though the president may also direct to present the budget on a certain day, or otherwise it would be present on the last working day of February each year. Next important thing, before budget is presented, it is supposed to be approved by the parliament before it can be implemented. It is known as the money bill also. The budget of the country is known as the money bill also. And it is supposed to be approved by the parliament before it can be implemented or before it can be presented. Okay, so keep remember this thing. It requires to be approved by the parliament before it is implemented. Okay. And money bill is always introduced by Lok Sabha only. Okay, Rajya Sabha can withhold it for the 14 days only. Okay. It requires to be approved by the parliament before it is implemented. Now we come on the next topic. What are the objectives of the government budget? As we discussed earlier, that objectives of the government always play an important role in the planning of the budget. So we'll see what are the main objectives of the government budget. Why does the government prepare the budget? So we come on the next topic now. This is the objectives. Objectives of government budget. Number one, reallocation of resources. Reallocation of resources. What do we mean by reallocation of resources? Basically, before government reallocate the resources, whatsoever the resources are available with the country, government has to bring out two objectives out of this. Number one, first of all, government focus on the profit maximization, profit maximization to generate the revenue into the economy. Profit maximization, number one. Profit maximization, we could say it is considered as the economic priority of the government. This is known as the economic priority. Number one, first of all, government takes care before reallocating the resources. First objective is profit maximization. Profit maximization is the economic priority, how to generate the revenue, how to generate employment, how to generate income into the economy. Okay, all these comes under the head of profit maximization. Secondly, government takes care of the public welfare. Public welfare. Public welfare, we could say it comes under the head of social priority. Social priority of the government. Because India's economy is the developing one. Okay, so we cannot ignore the public welfare at any cost. So government has to create a balance between the economic priority and the social priority. So government has to go hand in hand with that of the profit maximization and the public welfare. So this is before government allocates the resources. Government has to go through all these things. Government always has to keep in mind the profit maximization and the public welfare both. Now question arises, how does the government influence the reallocation of resources? Okay, these were the objectives, that before the government reallocate the resources, so government has to keep in mind these two priorities mainly. So how does the government influence this profit maximization and the public welfare? So we'll discuss this now. How does government influence the above two? So the government influence these two. Number one, first of all, what does the government do? For the economic priorities, government can provide the tax concessions, or it can give the subsidies. By object, I'm writing this subsidies. All of you are aware very well what do we mean by subsidies. We have discussed a number of times tax concessions and the subsidies. Why does the government give the tax concessions? Tax concessions are given to encourage investment into the economy, because when the investment will take place, employment will be generated and the country will grow economically. Okay, poverty will go far away. Okay, we can reduce the poverty by generating employment, by creating the sources of income for the people. So by giving the tax concession to some big industries, to some important industries, or the government can create the investment, can increase the investment into the economy, or it may provide the subsidies also. If it can't give the tax concessions, in those cases, what does the government do? Government bears some portion of the expenditures of the producers. So by in such a of the producers, or even of the consumers. Okay, so it's known as the subsidies. Suppose if government has to discourage the production of the harmful consumption goods like liquor, cigarettes, alcohol, okay, all these. So what will the government do on tobacco, on liquor, on cigarettes? government will impose the heavy taxes on them just to discourage their production. And if suppose government has to encourage the handicrafts, the khadi products in India, so what will the government do? Government will impose the less taxes or will provide subsidies over these products so that these industries can grow. Okay? And maybe the part of the objective of profit maximization for the government. So in such a manner, government reallocate the resources. First tool is, what is the first tool? Tax concessions, or either the tax concessions or the subsidies. Next, directly producing goods and services. Number three, directly producing goods and services. What do we mean by this? What happens sometimes, the private sectors does not take any interest into the production of goods and services, those kind of goods and services in which they don't see the profit motives. In all those cases, what happens? Government can directly undertake the production of such goods and services. The goods and services on which the private sectors do not want to produce them. Reason, reason, re, reason for the same, maybe they might not have any profit motives over there. They might have the huge expenditures on them. Okay, so these kind of goods and services normally private sectors avoid to produce. In all these cases, government directly undertake the production of these kind of goods and services. Now we come on the next objective. This was the first objective, reallocation of resources under the objective of profit maximization, economic priority and public welfare. The tools into the hands of the government are tax concessions, subsidies, and directly producing goods and services. Second objective we'll see. Second objective is number 2. Second is reducing inequalities. Reducing inequalities in income and wealth. Second objective of the government during the planning of the budget is always the reducing income inequalities. Government always makes the efforts that the gaps between the rich and poor should not be widened so much. Okay. So economic inequality is an inherent part of every economic system. Government aims to reduce such inequalities of income and wealth through the budgetary policies. Now, how does the government balance between these rich and poor? Number 1, government aims to influence distribution of income by imposing heavy taxes on the rich and spending more on the welfare of the poor. What are the tools into the hands of government? Taxes. Okay, so what does the government do? Heavy taxes, impose heavy taxes on rich, and spend them. The money generated from these heavy taxes from the rich, government spends on welfare of the poor. On the welfare of the poor. So in such a way, what happens? It reduces the income of the rich and raise the standard of living of the poor, and like this, government can reduce the inequalities in the distribution of the income. Okay. Third objective comes economic stability. Number 3, economic stability. Economic stability. What do we mean by economic stability? In every economy, we have already discussed the fluctuations have always been there. What kind of fluctuations are there? This is either inflation or deflation. If the prices are going to be very high, it's known as the inflation. Or if the prices are going to be very down even, so this is known as the deflation. So government have to bring the stability out of these two conditions. Here, government is supposed to manage the inflationary gaps also, and to manage the deflationary gaps also. Both these gaps we'll discuss in our next unit, but right now you just keep remember these are the gaps which are created into the economy: inflationary gaps and the deflationary gaps. So to reduce all these gaps or to control the inflation, either the inflation or the deflation, government has to maintain a stability into the economy. Okay. So how does the government can achieve this objective? How does the government? So inflationary tendencies emerge. First of all, we'll see economic stability. Economic stability. We are talking of the economic stability. So first of all, we'll see how does the economic instability arise. There are two things: inflationary tendencies. Inflationary tendencies. What are the inflationary tendencies? Inflationary tendencies are when aggregate demand, in short I'm writing this AD. This is aggregate demand. When aggregate demand is greater than aggregate supply. In short I'm writing this AS. When aggregate demand into the economy is greater than aggregate supply. Okay, we have already discussed the law of demand, law of supply in standard 11th, and many times we have discussed this. Okay, we have the different unit on the concept of aggregate demand and aggregate supply, and thoroughly we'll discuss it over there. So right now you keep remember, whenever the demand is greater than supply, we could say in the case of micro units, we have already discussed. So in the case of macro units, in the whole economy, whenever we are talking, it's known as the aggregate demand or the aggregate supply. So whenever the aggregate demand would be greater than aggregate supply, always inflationary tendencies will arise into the economy, and it will create the demand pull inflation in the economy. Okay, so these are known as the inflationary tendencies. So what can the government do? What will government have to do? Tools into the hands of government, government's expenditure. If government reduces its expenditure, if government reduces its expenditure, if government expenditure reduces, what would happen? Aggregate demand will also reduce, will also reduce in economy. So what would happen? Up to which level? Till 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 government will reduce the expenditures up to that level till it gets AD would be equal to AS. aggregate demand would be equal to aggregate supply. Up to this level, government will reduce its expenditure to bring equilibrium into the economy. Any economy is known to be in the equilibrium when aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply, as we have already discussed in micro. Demand should be equal to supply, then it is known as the equilibrium. In the same way, in the macro, aggregate demand should be equal to aggregate supply, then it's known that economy is in the equilibrium. And if the aggregate demand is greater than aggregate supply, it means all these are the inflationary tendencies, and to bring them into the equilibrium, government is supposed to reduce its expenditure. And up to what level? Till aggregate demand would come equal to the aggregate supply. In the same way, deflationary tendencies. Deflationary tendencies. What do we mean by deflationary tendencies? It means deflationary tendencies means when aggregate demand is lesser than aggregate supply. Obviously, this is the deflationary tendencies. Getting it? So again, government has the tools of government expenditures. So what will the government do in such a case to bring the economy into the equilibrium? Government will increase government expenditure. In short, I'm writing this EXP, please. Government expenditure will increase, and what can the government can do? Or government can give the tax concessions and the subsidies. Tax concessions it can give. Tax concessions would be given, or it may have the provisions for subsidies. Subsidies it can increase. It can increase the subsidies also. So what would happen? These deflationary tendencies will come into the equilibrium. Up to what level the government will increase the expenditures, will give the tax concessions, or will give the subsidies? The level till aggregate demand would be equal to aggregate supply. Till the level of when aggregate demand would be equal to aggregate supply. Okay. So by all these methods, okay, government can bring the economy into a balanced one. Okay. So government can maintain the stability into the economy. Next we come management of public enterprises. Third objective. Third objective is fourth objective. I'm sorry. First objective we saw reallocation of resources. Second, we saw reducing inequalities in income and the wealth. Third, we saw economic stability. Number 4, management of public enterprises. Management of public enterprises. How this is the part of the planning of the government budget. So what happens? In every economy, there are a large number of public sector industries which are established and managed for the sake of social welfare of the public only. So, budget has the provisions for managing such enterprises and providing them financial help. Got it? So this is known as the management of public enterprises. Management of public enterprises means many industries are established into the economy which looks after the social welfare. So government has to make the provisions in the budget, has to planning in such a manner that all these enterprises prices should also be availed of the financial help. Okay. Next we come on economic growth. Number 5, economic growth. See, the economic growth of every country depends on the two things. Number 1, investment, as we have already discussed. Number 2, savings. Number 2, savings. So how does a budget manage the economic growth? So to balance investment and savings into the economy, budgetary policies aims to mobilize sufficient resources for investment in the public sector. Therefore, the government makes various provisions in the budget to raise overall rate of savings and investment into the economy. In the same manner, if investment is greater than savings, the government will have to make the provisions. And if the investment is lesser than savings, in those conditions also the government will have to make the provisions. Investment and savings approach in detail will discuss in aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Again, we have these two approaches over there, investment and savings approach. Next we come reducing regional disparities. Number 6, regional disparities. So the government aims to reduce the regional disparities also through its taxation and expenditure policy for encouraging setting up of production units in the economically backward regions. If there are some certain regions which are economically backward, so government makes the provisions by setting up, by establishing the producing units over there, so that all the regions can grow economically. Okay. So now next we'll discuss the components of the budget.